I've made a retrospective on iDubbbz's Content Cop series as both a former subscriber of his and as a person who critically engages with his content. In it, I critique many of his stances and actions, most notably would be his use and past justification of stigmatized language. I came to the open-ended conclusion that iDubbbz's beliefs and stance more than likely shifted as the years went on, given some of the clips we have of him in certain interviews at the time, but it was very clear that his progression was not done or complete. I ended the video by stating that I wanted to do an in-depth deep dive into his channel because I really wanted to pinpoint and observe that shift. As I watched his newer and more recent content, there was a feeling of unease that I couldn't fully identify. When I can't discern my own feelings about someone else's videos, I put the project on the back burner. This is why you guys have yet to see videos on Filthy Frank, FD Signifier, or Kidology. And that brings us to today. Recently, Ian posted a video titled "I Miss the Old iDubbbz" to his main platform that, for all intents and purposes, was an apology video for his past behaviors. Unlike most commentators when these type of videos come out, I'm not going to pick apart his apology and speculate on whether or not it's genuine. For creators and influencers, I tend to operate on the assumption of presumed authenticity until proven otherwise. At around the 7-minute mark of the 17-minute long video is when we hear for the first time, "I'm sorry." And this apology was actually made in reference to the actual creators he made videos on, most notably Tana Mojo, considering his Tana Mojo Content Cop was probably his most infamous.
I'm sorry to everyone that I made Content Cop videos on. I still don't like the majority of you, and that's fine, but I can recognize that you did not deserve the hate and harassment that I sent your way. I particularly want to apologize to Tana. Tana, I'm sorry. I should have never made that video. I harassed Tana in person and then harassed her online.
Right after that, he apologizes to the Black community for his past reasonings of using racial slurs.
I'm also sorry to all the Black viewers and minority groups who had to put up with that video and put up with, the phrases. I said either it's all okay or none of it's okay.
One could critique the ordering of that apology, meaning he chose to apologize to a white woman before addressing the Black community for an issue that surrounds and targets that community. But a couple of months ago, when I talked about why influencers may lie to their audiences, one of the reasons I considered is an inability to view their audience as actual human beings, as in we are only conceptual beings to most influencers. The ordering of his apology is consistent with this theory. He may elevate empathizing with Tana because she is truly a physical being to him. He has seen her, spoken to her, experienced her. The online Black viewership may be secondary to that interaction, not because we are Black, but because he has not experienced us personally. This is further proven when he recounts one of the situations that led him to really seeing the error in his ways. He describes an interaction with a transgender fan who assumed he did not like or care for trans people.
Now I want to talk about events and situations that have happened over the past 5 years of my life that have led me to the place I'm at now. One year I was at a convention and a bunch of fans were, wanting pictures, and this particular fan came up to me and said, "I know you probably don't like transgender people, but can I, get a picture?" That smacked me in the face. I was like, oh, holy shit.
I can understand why that one-on-one experience was worth more to him than the dozens of critique videos that exist solely to refute his actions. It is much harder to confront the realities of your actions when the victims of it are standing right in front of you. If Ian were truly bigoted to his core, rather than just an individual who lacked experience and perspective, he would have taken that fan's words and immediately pushed the blame onto the fan's personal perception of him. Had he said something along the lines of, "Well, I never said that I don't like trans people. You assumed that, you idiot," it would have confirmed actual bigotry to me, because at the core of bigotry is the inability to reckon with yourself and how you may impact others. And lastly, he then goes on to apologize to his very own wife, Anisa, who has had to bear the brunt of the incels within his audience.
A very big thing that has sort of altered my view on all of this is just the amount of hate and harassment my wife Anisa has received over the years. She's had to deal with it from the beginning of our relationship, and I have done a horrible job at acknowledging her and her feelings for it. A lot of the time I just thought that was that was her problem. It's not my problem that you're getting hate and harassment. And it's like, no, it absolutely is. You know, that's the culture that I cultivated, and I, you know, didn't do anything to change that.
There has been so many misogynistic takes on Anisa. I understand that she is roped into her own controversies, but it was always uncalled for when it came to her starting an OnlyFans. At the end of the day, I find most apologies to be utterly useless. People mistakenly assume that an apology is an equivalent to a true acknowledgement of someone else's pain or a call to action to change. When creators apologize, I do tend to ignore the actual apology. Instead, I analyze the words and mannerisms around the words "I'm sorry." I want to see if the person actually understands what they did wrong, which is normally shown through explaining what they did wrong and how it hurt others. And then I want to see them actually carry out exactly what iDubbbz said, a goal of creating a more positive impact in space.
I have made content that I'm proud of over the years. It hasn't been as consistent as maybe I'd like it to have been, but you know, there is a lot of content that I think had a net positive on the world, and you know, I'm going to strive to continue on that trend. But again, I'm absolutely going to continue to make mistakes, but I want the mistakes to be a lot smaller and a lot less serious.
Show us through your actions that you have altered your beliefs, whether that be through direct activism, which I really don't expect from most people, or by simply creating good-natured videos and content that is truly authentic to yourself and your values. Because whether or not you make political or social commentary content, your actual values will always shine through your videos. I said earlier that I felt an unease while watching some of Ian's newer content before watching this new apology video of his. And it was because there was a past lack of acknowledgement for his actual role in shaping that commentary space on the YouTube platform. His influence is so great that people are now writing academic sociological essays about him. He is a literal part of internet history. The direct acknowledgement of his past behaviors will not reverse the impact, but at least it does the one thing that I wish he did years ago. He divorced his truly bigoted audience members. Ian talks about his fear and insecurity, and I would speculate that those feelings in part had something to do with the uncertainty of pivoting away from a very profitable demographic of people. The anti-woke will line your pockets if you say the right things.
I am very insecure about my ability to create interesting content or like entertain. It's gotten better over the years, but it's something that I have struggled with constantly. And it's one of the reasons why I, kept making this hurtful content.
And to be transparent with you guys, I don't believe that he thoroughly acknowledged the communities that he slandered for profit enough. And I don't just mean the Black community when I say this, but also women and LGBTQ as well. And this is because he still refers to his actions as hurting the feelings of others. And that illustrates about a 50% understanding of what using powerful words like the N-word does or could do. I went over this in a lot more detail in my past video, which will be linked down below, but a white person using that word symbolically upholds a system of racism that continues to stifle racial minorities because it will forever be connected to an inaccurate, disgusting caricature and misrepresentation of Black people. When a white person utters that word, it covertly reminds other white people of how much less Black people are to not only them, but to other racial groups as well. Ian perpetuated and furthered an act of discrimination that he will never feel or bear the weight of. He fostered not only an unsafe and unwelcoming environment in his audience, but was also a part of the reason why it was exceedingly difficult for a Black person with an actual platform to publicly denounce or critique him. Up until this very direct acknowledgement that was published on his main channel, the channel that previously housed his content cops, every single video that I consumed of his gave me an underlying sense of deceit. He has created some very progressive, positive material in the last couple of years that I could not take in pure good faith because, as he alluded to in this video of acknowledgement, one cannot simply pivot from that exaggerated, salacious entertainment style without paying respect to the people harmed by it. In my analysis of iDubbbz's old content, I refuse to permanently condemn him though. I didn't give in to the very easy thought of once a bigot, always a bigot, because I knew that was an inaccurate portrayal of the human experience and learning. I theorized long ago that Ian would probably reach this tipping point. Like he said, the work on his perceptions and ideologies is not complete, nor should we expect them to be. None of us are as good, delightful, and as wonderful as we think we are, so we should be able to understand the sentiment. When it comes to this very particular form of bigotry that is solely fed by a lack of education and experience, rather than completely internalized racist and irrational thought, Ian's journey of self-discovery and worldly discovery is what I expect to see. Most people do operate and process in the same manner that he did. We just don't get to see that platform as much because who wants to expose their past stupidity? Ian's acceptance of the fact that he more than likely will get into controversies again in the future shows me that he is dedicated to continuing to learn and experience. This opposes most past influencer apologies a la James Charles, Tana Mojo, Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star, Gabby Hanna, and so on and so forth. Rather than promising grandiose visions of perfection like the former, Ian resigns to accepting that he is imperfect and fallible, and sets a very realistic goal of simply not getting into controversies that involves the demoralization of entire people groups. Ian, iDubbbz's, the content cop, accepting that he is fallible is a stark contrast from the guy that I saw make those videos back in 2017. In addition to this, the realism of his goal exemplifies actual respect to his audience's levels of intelligence and patience, and I appreciate that. Despite his own reservations, Ian is a great content creator with absurdist humor that I continue to enjoy to this day. I'm not sure if he realizes this, but his entire platform is made up of bits and pieces of his personality, the personality that he was unsure that could lend to his success without relying on other factors.
I'm not confident in my ability to entertain, and I think if I had to rely on my personality to entertain people, that I wouldn't have any amount of success.
I have no way of knowing what is truly him and what is not and what is his persona, but engaging content is consistently linked to the creator's unique way of styling and their interpretations. So even if he's not making chatty get ready with me's that solely rely on his personality, his essence is still very much prevalent and present in everything that he makes. In conclusion, let the old iDubbbz rest, please. I think he's been dead for a good minute due to Ian's increased willingness to show any level of vulnerability online, but this is the first true marker that we have gotten from the man himself, and it's significant. If nothing else, even if people of marginalized backgrounds affected by Ian's past content don't slide any type of grace to him, I think that this video was meaningful in a totally different light. A straight white man who built a platform on his crude and unapologetic boldness has showcased his documented growth into a more holistic and progressive mindset, and he did so with a level of vulnerability and sensibility that I would love to see more men emulate and embody. Jordan Peterson could never. He's showing his audience that it's okay to be wrong, to have made mistakes, and that it's okay for people to rightfully be hurt and criticize you until the day you die, because no matter how much you've changed, no matter how hard you have worked to rectify your past actions, you still did the thing. Learning to accept valid criticism, internalizing it, and using it as a method to growth is an unmatched practice skill. And I think that's all I have to say about iDubbbz's acknowledgement video. If there are any small or mid-sized people of color or marginalized people you guys see discussing this topic, please let me know and I'll link them in my description box. It's important to hear and see these types of voices when it comes to critiquing white influencers with massive platforms, especially when it comes to a space on YouTube where the audiences are overwhelmingly white. So I think that is going to be all for me today, guys. Thank you for joining me for this quick video. Make sure you like and subscribe. I always forget to say that in every single video that I make. So do that, and I will see you guys next time.